fishing, it's in my soul.
Welcome to the Salt Strong Podcast, disrupting fishing entertainment as you know it. Prepare to laugh. Prepare to get to know fishing legends in a whole new and unfiltered way. And on occasion, you might even learn a thing or two about fishing. Here's your host, Joe Simons. Like diamonds.
The tug is my drug. What's up, Salt Strong Nation? Joe Simons.
And Luke Simons.
Like diamonds, we are back. And this is going to be a little bit different one. If you're listening on iTunes, you probably have no idea that we're out on the boat in the water. And if you're watching on YouTube, you probably have no idea we're also filming a podcast. And we had a lot of people in 2019 ask, hey, I'd love for you guys to do a podcast out in the water while you're fishing. Like, anything goes, you know, show us getting hung up on docks, talk about why we picked this spot, talk about what we're fishing with, what lures got a little slam shady on. Right now, I believe you got slam shady as well?
Sure do, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, baby. And ultimately, we're going to talk about this smart fishing spots. We released this kind of silently in December, had a lot of people sign up for it, and a lot of people wondering, hey, what's going on? And I'm an insider, do I get it? And yes, good news is as an insider, you get it for free, which is the beauty of it. So we're going to talk all about the smart fishing spots. And in a sentence, smart fishing spots is us getting on maps and literally showing you where to catch fish every single week. We do it every Friday morning where we get on a map and actually like show, starting in Texas, move to Florida, up to the Carolinas and Virginia, and we do it every week, just talking about the trends. And this is based on really on weather and science. Like for instance, Luke, we're right here in a wind protected area. It's winter time as we're filming this, even though it's warmed up a little bit from the 40 and 50 degree weather we had, which is why we got our nice APCO Salt Strong shorts on. But still, it's chilly out and this crazy wind, meaning crazy for us and a little skiff here. Was it 15, I think, or 16 I saw today? Mile-hour winds?
Yeah, it's about 15 now.
So we want to be protected as we can, and so we're here in a wind-protected shoreline fishing these docks. So let's talk about why real quick, Luke, why I pray I don't get snagged on my very first cast.
Yeah, we basically came in to get just really get out of the wind, both for us and the fish are doing the same thing. Wintertime, there's just the wind protected shoreline is going to be a little bit warmer than everywhere else. Oh yeah, I just saw it. Was it a trout or a ladyfish?
It's a big old ladyfish.
Yeah, so this water is just a fraction warmer than everywhere else, and that's really what we're looking for. And I don't really care what the actual temperature is. I just want it to be a little bit warmer than everywhere else, and that's most often going to be where the most fish are. And I just had a bite too. So they are going to be a little bit lethargic. So I'm kind of changing the retrieve. These ladyfish are, another lady.
Big old ladyfish.
Yeah. So when you're doing this types, using paddle tails, this is a bait fish imitator, and so pretty much anything that eats bait fish will be hitting these. So it kind of keeps the door open for all sorts of different species. Ladyfish will certainly be one. There should be some trout along here. Hopefully run into some snook and redfish too. But this is one of those days that years ago just would never even bother fishing. I was thinking that the fish would have lockjaw. Ooh, I just missed another something. You said the fish would have lockjaw, and if you come to a spot like this, sometimes it can be surprising how much action you can actually get.
Get some good strikes here in the first
I think there's a group of ladyfish back there messing with us.
Yeah, they're jacking my slim shady up.
But again, it's all about just putting yourself in a spot to maximize the odds, again, based on the conditions. That's, I think, the biggest problem that a lot of anglers have is they're really focused on spots, on, hey, like, where should I fish? We get that question a lot in our community, and if you get feedback on where to fish without knowing, without the person giving the feedback, asking like what time are you fishing, what day, to actually put the weather into play. If you're picking spots without factoring in the weather, and then you're asking for inconsistent results. And I know, because I did that for many years. And I was wondering why I would have some awesome days at a spot and then it would be a total bust, is because I did not factor in. I didn't really think too much about, yes, I thought about the tides, but I never thought much about the wind direction, the wind speed, is the weather getting warmer, or is it getting cooler, or is it staying the same, right? Is it before a cold front, after cold front?
Like for instance, this is a little peninsula here. You fished the other side, just a week or so ago, right?
Yeah.
You killed it because it was the opposite, meaning the wind was coming from the opposite direction.
Yep. And so, again, had I just stuck to that one spot, like the first time I came here, I just moved to St. Pete just recently. First time I came out, I had an awesome day. And but today the conditions are total opposite of that time, so I know that I'm not even going to bother going to those spots because the odds are much better in this zone, because again it's the right type of spot based on the conditions. And that's the key. That was the missing link I had for many years.
All right, so let's talk about the smart fishing spots, Luke. So we did a survey, I guess it was November, and the biggest thing by far that we heard from you, both public and our insiders, we have like a 75,000 email list. It's actually like 140,000, but we only email you if you're actually active, like meaning clicking and opening our emails. We take you off quickly, FYI. We don't just keep emailing you forever, because it's just like trying to call or text a girl you've been trying to date for a while. If you didn't answer your text for 30, 60 days, you might want to give up and not bug them anymore. So we sent out to that many people. We got thousands of responses, and the number one, I would say, issue, not with us, but just like a challenge that most weekend warriors have, including Luke and I, for many, many years, is time, right? And even now, still, people think, oh, I own a fishing company, I must fish every week. Luke does a little bit more, but I am the CEO. We're running a pretty fast-growing company now. You got another fish on?
Lizard fish.
Oh, that's embarrassing. We got to crop that out somehow. Fish is fish, though. Tight lines. I'm a father, a husband, a father of 3 young kids, so a lot of stuff going on, and so time is so critical, and that really comes in. We hear 2 things around time. One was time to fish, meaning we're busy with life, got a job, got a family, you got church, got all this stuff, community service stuff, and so I don't have enough time to fish. And so when I do go fishing, I want to maximize my time. I want to make sure I'm in the right spot, not a dead zone. I want to make sure I'm getting tight lines. I think, Luke, a pressure you'll agree with is, especially when you take friends out or kids who know you love fishing, it's your thing, and even if you catch fish, it's great, and if they don't, like, it kind of ruined their trip. And there's a lot of pressure. I mean, it's the same reason there's a lot of pressure being a full-time fishing guide. You want to get people on fish.
That's a good strike right down there.
Right near the big old boat there.
Yep.
See if I can get him to strike. So anyhow, there's that time factor of just being in the right place at the right time, and we get it, and that's one big thing that we solve. The other one is, hey guys, you're putting out new content daily, and within our Insider Club, we have new fishing reports going up hourly now, like legitimately hourly. And like, hey, I don't have time to go through it all. Like, I'm working a crazy job on Monday through Friday, and come Saturday morning, I got a haul pass. I'm going to go out there and catch a bunch of fish fast. And so we listened, we heard you, and in December, that's when we launched the Smart Fishing Spots. And what it is, as I mentioned, 10 minutes or less every single Friday. Is it Thursday now? No, it is Friday. It is Friday morning is what we decided to do.
No, Friday
best
someday.
For everyone. So Friday morning, so if you're fishing Friday, you can watch it or listen to it on the way there. And we're taking all the trends from everything we're seeing in our community, which we have 11,000 members with new people joining every day. And we take everything that we're seeing and put it into one video, and actually like get on a map and show spots and show pictures and show real fishing reports of what's happening. It is the ultimate fishing reports, like on steroids, actually showing real spots, like where you should be fishing, literally taking the time issue away from you. You're basically investing in time. You're basically buying time when you invest in the Insider Club now. So we listen, that's just one piece of the Insider Club. It is actually a separate piece. And on top of that, Tony is now doing weekly spot dissections. And so that means, you got one?
Something small again.
That means every single Monday.
On a lizard fish hot streak.
Fish are everywhere. I love that Slam Shady. Every single Monday, Tony gets on an online map, and based on our Insider members asking for it, he goes and dissects a spot, meaning he'll actually get on the map and pick a spot he's maybe even never fished before and explain exactly how he would pre-trip plan, how he would fish that area based on the weather, right? Based on the wind conditions, based on everything that's happening, using real science. Not just, hey, this looks like a good spot, but there is a piece of it showing on a map things that a lot of people miss, that a lot of people just go on right by. I think you and Luke, you and Tony take for granted how well you guys read maps because you do it every single day. And we did that webinar recently, even with some of our good members, and they're like, man, like I never would have seen that. Not everyone knows how to read maps like you guys do. So I think that's such a powerful piece of this smart fishing spots. And then when you combine it, whoop, I got a strike there, with smart fishing tides, doggone, like you will get tight lines. And you can see here already, like this is live, and we're not editing this stuff out already. Yeah, we haven't caught anything big, and this is artificial lures in the wintertime. I mean, most people think the only way to go up there is really to sit down and hunker down in an area with live shrimp. And we're sitting here in essentially a brand new spot that Luke just moved to, fishing with artificial lures and getting quite a few strikes in a really short amount of time. And look at another one there. All because we did what we're preaching. Hey, go look at smartfishingtides.com. Go look which way the wind's going, and then watch the little 10-minute video on where to fish. And
yeah, because the 10-minute video includes a forecast. We obviously look at the weather, at the forecasted weather for the weekend, because if you just do a report on what happened yesterday, if like today, like a big front's coming in, tomorrow is going to be a totally different ball game. And so the weekend forecast, there you are.
Oh, fish.
So the weekend forecast will obviously it'll give what the adjustments you need to make based on the changing.
You guys see that skip cast into the dock? I don't get many of those. I want to make sure everyone caught that on film. You guys listen to the podcast. I just had a left-handed, it's like Luke catching the snook from the balcony, kind of a cast. I'm real proud of that one. Man, at least getting a lot of strikes. Whoop, and that one hit the dock.
We should be getting some trout or something here.
And today, what do you remember? Was it a 6 for the strike score?
Yeah, it was a 6. So not very good.
Wind's even cranking around this point here.
We've got a gentleman start at about 9:30 or something.
And not only that, we actually pulled up here, and realized that we didn't have the camera. And the camera's kind of an important piece of this. Because even though we always have a GoPro in our phones, especially when you got wind, which you hopefully don't hear too much of, because we don't have a cameraman here. I'm actually going to go check it. Hopefully Luke gets into a big one here. Make sure this looks good. Oh, it still looks marvelous. You got one?
Something messing with me. It's probably junk fish.
Yeah, we got to get away from the junk fish. As fun as it is to get tight lines, I want to catch a nice red or trout. But anyhow, the strike score was a 6, which is not ideal. And on that webinar, someone said, "Hey, do you even, go fishing when it's below a 5?" Well, heck yeah! Like if you have the day off to go fishing, then by all means do it. Even fishing with guys like C. Richardson, who we had on board, is one of our fishing coaches, and Captain Peter Deeks, who's still doing tons of videos for us. I mean, these are guys who are putting people on fish 300 plus days a year, and I know Peter's got multiple world records.
There's a trout.
You got there a little trout?
Yeah. It was
Nice.
It was deep. It was holding
you guys
deep.
Get to see another piece of it. We'll
Little guy slam shade right in the mouth.
so I want you to do the click it. So you might even see on this video here. Just hold it up and just say click it.
Click it.
All right, let's do one in the sun real quick. So you guys are gonna get behind the scenes.
Click it.
Say it again loud.
No, we're good. We got to get a bigger one than that. That was embarrassing.
That's too funny.
All right, we got a decent
We're
fish on the
trying to
board.
get an ending to our video for you guys to click. Click it. All right, well, at least we got one trout.
Yeah, it was holding deep, so I think those trout are holding off in the deeper water. They're still chilly. The sun just popped out. It was all overcast and nasty all morning.
So anyhow, where I was going with that is all these pros, you know, because we ask them, we get a fishing one, we ask them a lot of questions like, hey, like, are there days where, you know, you just don't fish at all? And they're like, well, heck no. Like, one, especially if you have a paying person, but he's like, all these guys, see, Peter, they all said the same thing. Like, there is never a temperature or any kind of scenario where fish just won't eat. Just like humans, no matter how stressful life might be on our bodies or whatever, like, we're not going to go forever without eating. There's always some fish that's willing to eat. Yes, there's certainly days where it's a grind. I'm certain you've had those. I know we have. They're not always easy. We're hoping today is going to be an easier one. But still, there's always some opportunity somewhere to catch fish. And the strike score is essentially just a guide, and it is proprietary. A lot of people ask,
a little lizard fish again. These things are thick here.
Well, if you guys have any wonder about who's the better fisherman, even though my excuse is I am doing a lot more talking and face to camera, I believe Luke is out fishing me like 8-1 now.
I don't think lizard fish should count.
Anyhow, the strike score is proprietary. It is an algorithm based on every factor that we felt was important, not just some of these generic scores out there. Like, there's some generic fish scores that say they apply to everything, right? From bass to marlin. Like, that's just crazy. This is really for inshore species. It's tailored for redfish and speckled trout and snook and flounder, black drum, tarpon, etc. And it's been pretty doggone accurate. I mean, if you see a 9 in your area and you can drop a pin anywhere and it actually takes real time, it updates. Is it every 15 minutes, Luke?
Well, I got some playing around. I'm trying to jig it up right here. Yeah, it's every 15 minutes.
Small flash there.
Yeah, something small. I think it was a small trout. Yeah, every 15 minutes it gets updated with latest weather. It brings in the count, the barometric pressure, the wind speed, the wind direction, the temperature, obviously as it changes. Really, all the essential factors, and it's a one-stop shop for everything. And we put together the algorithm. Oh, there we are. We put together ladyfish. We put together the algorithm that puts it all into play, and then we adjust the algorithm over time based on season. Because during the winter time is totally different factors that are important than the summertime, and we obviously just make sure that that's all shown there. Oh, quick release on that ladyfish. So we just make sure that it's always up to date, and so that again that you just have it ready at your disposal, and don't have to worry about the nits and grits of it all. Totally done for you.
That's it, done for you. And I think as our 11,000 plus Insider members are now seeing the analogy, because I'm dealing with this right now, when my youngest daughter said that Daddy had a belly, it's time to maybe look at working out here for 2020. And I have two decisions.
There we are.
One is I can keep watching Luke catch fish in my cage.
Another trout.
So one is I can go do it myself, right? Go to the gym, and I know what's probably going to happen. It's going to be the same thing that usually happens, which is, hey, I go to the gym, I get really excited for a little while, and it doesn't really work, and then I stop going as much. Or I go in there and just kind of cheat, meaning I go in there and do it as quick as I can. I don't do as many reps as I should, and I probably don't even know how to use this stuff right. I'm probably not even using most machines the right way. And does that sound familiar? I mean, the average person, and if you're a professional weightlifter, it sounds obvious to you, just like catching fish is obvious to Luke. But for the average person, you don't even know how to use most of the machines the correct way to really get the most out of them, right? Just to get the most out of your fishing time. And so option number two is to hire a guide. And so I'm actually chatting with a personal trainer, a coach, right now, to take my game up a level, to do it the right way, to hold me accountable, and also he's got a little network of other people in his little, he calls it his little online tribe. So you actually get to be part of it and ask questions about diet and other things, just like you ask questions about lure. What's most important, obviously, here, it's not the lure, even though Slam Shady is stinking amazing. The lure is not the most important. You have to be in a good spot.
I was cane pulling that one right under the boat.
There, lady.
Ladyfish. these up here. Get that out of the way.
So anyhow, the Insider Club is like having done for you. It's like having a personal coach. The private coaching versus, doing it yourself the hard way, especially if your time's valuable. Now, I would say if you're 20 years old and you don't have a job and you can fish 8 hours every day, then it might not be as helpful for you. Because you can go out there like we tried to do and learn it yourself. I still think it's helpful, but probably most 20-year-olds who don't have a job don't have much money either. So you're probably not even getting to fish as much as you want to. But if time is important to you and you want to go out there with confidence and you want to go out there and just get tight lines, even like we're doing on a day that normally we would have called it, and we even debated not doing because we saw the weather. It looks nice out right now, but it was supposed to be rainy and the 16-mile-an-hour winds. And here we are, at least one of us getting a lot of tight lines. I got to let you start talking. It'll help or not.
Well, one trick, if you see somebody catching fish and you're not, is look closely at what they're using. And
you didn't change it up, Slam Shady, did you?
You didn't look close enough. So the biggest factor in most cases, but especially wintertime days like this, is keep it low. Keep it on the ground.
So put that on the camera. Yeah, I didn't notice that until you said something.
Yeah, these fish are holding, we're fishing the whole shelf. So we're, the casts are going up and about where that pelican is dove is maybe like two feet deep. And then it's going down to where we are, probably 8. And these fish, if you've been watching me, I've been just jigging it real slow, bouncing on the bottom down that shelf. And that's where they're hitting. And so I'm using a 1/4 ounce jig head, and Joe has a lighter one. So he's just flat not getting down deep enough. And I just, that ladyfish just ruined my tail. So that is the factor on what's happening. So the depth factor is incredibly important. That's more important than color, in my opinion. If you're not at the right depth, the fish are just flat out not gonna eat. And so super important. Keep that in mind. Let's see if I can find my pack of baits.
Normally it's time for me to re-rig, but I don't know how to do that while we're podcasting and videoing. I'll keep on fishing for a little while and just going a little bit slower.
Or put a gulp shrimp on, it'll dive down faster. That's the trick without retying. These Slam Shadies, they're kind of buoyant, plus they have the paddle tail. So they require a little bit more weight to get down deep. And so if you can use the same jig head, put a different lure on, and it'll dive down quicker, especially if it's not buoyant and then doesn't have the paddle tail.
And so a lot of people ask, do we always use Slam Shady? And my answer is no. It's certainly what I usually lead with, even while I'm bass fishing or anything. It's probably one. If you don't know what the Slam Shady is, it's this custom paddle tail that we made with Z-Man, and it's certainly probably one of the best overall lures for just consistently catching all inshore species, or really any species you want. It's great for just getting a lot of strikes. It's a great way to cover new areas.
There we are.
It's
it's a trout, bigger trout.
A great way to cover new ground, just to see if the fish are biting, to see if there's any fish in the area.
It's a legit trout here.
Oh yeah, that's a much better one. So that can be a good video in there.
This is a fatty. Yeah, this is getting close to 19, 20 inches here.
Now for you East Coast guys, it's probably pretty laughable.
This one's shaped like an East Coast trout. This thing is thick.
Oh, he be traveling. I'll get a quick pick. See when Luke lands him.
Slipper clicker. Oh man, the line's getting all tangled up.
Get us away from the seal, bro.
Dang braid getting all tangled up on my paddle tail.
So the beauty of going live like this is you guys get to see everything. Maybe not as good for Luke, but
That's a solid trout.
oh boy! Oh no!
All right, well, we're not gonna do the click. I just want to release this guy. That's a solid trout.
Quick pick.
Got it.
Yep. Let's give him
All right. Let that guy get back in there. There we are.
quickly. Nice job, dude.
Yeah, that was solid. Right on the shelf.
Nice job.
I gotta
All right. So I am
fix my bait.
So back on the lures, back on the baits. What I've learned from watching Luke and even just a lot of these pros, in inshore fishing, like, you don't need a lot of stuff. It's not like bass fishing where you need and you still really need bass fishing. It's funny, some of the I'm gonna bump up a little bit, Luke, before we hit that.
Yeah,
tail,
I'm watching.
Some of the biggest tournament wins the last couple years, when they interview the guy, like, what's your lure? And in most cases, they were using one lure that was just working. And a lot of times it's their confidence lure. And a lot of times they barely even switched up. Like, once they knew fish were striking it, it works. So with a paddle tail, might start with a 3-inch, which is normal. It's kind of just a good overall, and move up if you see a lot of bigger mullet or bigger bait fish. And then occasionally, if, to Luke's point, if I need to get something down deeper or just change it up, I will go with a gulp shrimp or a jerk shad on a twist lock hook. Like, that's all I carry anymore. Like, don't you agree? I mean, that's all. And occasionally you'll have like a hard bait.
Yeah, I rarely use hard.
Like a Meerdine or something like that. But for the most part,
I rarely use those anymore.
Keeping it super, super, super simple with 3 different size paddle tails in that one color. It's my confidence bait. Digging through here to see if I got any little shrimpies.
But yeah, depth coverage is really, really important. That's probably the most overlooked thing. That is the factor between Joe and I right now, is depth. I'm getting down deeper, he's not, and I'm getting the most fish. So super important to always keep that in mind. But if the fish were holding up shallower, then he'd be catching the most fish, because he's set up for a shallower bite and I'm set up for the deeper bite. But today I just brought 2 rods, and I brought one with the 1/4 ounce jig head for the deep stuff, and that's what I'm using now. And then I brought another one with a little bit lighter jig head, so that I can keep using the Slam Shady. I can not do what he's doing right now. I could make a quick switch without wasting any time.
Of course, I can't even find any gulp shrimp in my bag, and yours is back there with the
oh man, just had a good hit right there. Yeah, these trout, they're actually I need to get a little bit further away from the shore. There we are. Ladyfish. Yeah, they're pushed out like past the end of the docks right now. They're deep. So not normally this far out, but that's what's happening right now. Let's get this ladyfish off. All right, there's definitely some more trout out here.
Let's see if we can't find a couple redfish. All right, so I am now going with the swimming mullet. Cool. Yeah, I mean, that sinks a whole lot faster.
It still has a lot of water drag. You're just not getting to get as deep as a shrimp would. But it'll probably work. Yeah, and so as far as targeting, so now, typically go out, try to catch a slam is the goal. And so we've basically figured out the trout. And obviously the trout are going to be down deeper. A little. They don't hold as close to structure as like a snook and redfish do. So if we really wanted to target only snook and redfish, then we would probably stop fishing this deeper stuff and start getting up there, pushing up really close to the pilings. In that case, we probably need to get some weedless jig heads on, because to get up in the redfish territory and snook, they'll often be way up there in the pilings.
What about leader? I've seen quite a few comments coming in about leader size when you are fishing these docks.
I just use normal. I've just been using 30-pound leader in snook territory. So I use 30-pound mono. I think right now I've been switching between mono and fluoro, and to be honest, I really can't tell a difference. Right now I actually have some fluoro, but it's one of the big spools. So this is what is it called? It's the Berkeley Vanish, but it's not like the leader spool. It's just a normal spool, which is way more affordable on the cost per yard metric. And but I've been using a lot of Andy mono, just like normal Andy mono, nothing fancy. And I mean, I really can't tell a difference as far as fish catching or like lure performance. Because I mean, the leader line I'm using, it's only 2.5 feet of line. So yes, you know, fluoro is a little bit more dense and has a little bit faster sink rate than traditional mono, but it's basically the same. If you're just using a 2-foot stretch of line, and there's really, it's not noticeable. At least not noticeable enough to worry much about it.
And talk about your the abrasion test and stuff that you did. I think I missed that.
Yeah, so I've done some testing on lines, and my biggest factor is targeting snow. That's my favorite fish to eat, and they're really good about chewing through line. Like their mouths are like sandpaper. It's almost like a bass mouth, but they're just stronger, and do some violent head shakes. And so anyhow, the biggest risk is them chewing through line. And so I wanted to find what the best line is for abrasion. And so I built a little test. There you are. I had something. Yeah. I built a little assembly that can basically rubs the line up against sandpaper with weight. So it's the exact same weight, so the exact same tension on the sandpaper, and then I just move the sandpaper and oscillate it until the weakest one breaks. And I've always thought that fluorocarbon is more abrasion resistant than mono. Like to me, it was a 100% fact, right? That's what all the marketing says. There's a lot of marketing behind that fluorocarbon line, and so I was just it wasn't a matter of which one's stronger. It was just how much stronger is the fluorocarbon going to be. And the very first test, the mono totally crushed it. The mono actually won, and by a good amount. And so I thought that I just had maybe like a bad strand of fluoro. And sure enough, it was test after test after test. So like traditional mono has outperformed the expensive fluorocarbon for abrasion, which is very, very surprising.
Well, what's interesting in terms of just the marketing piece of it, like no one ever saw any proof otherwise. Like I haven't seen any study. It was just kind of, right? I mean, it was just like the industry just said, oh yeah, it's better. And I've read some of the comments on your video, and even when you recommend using mono over fluoro, people think you're nuts. And when you ask them why, like, oh man, it's better. It's
like everybody knows that.
Yeah, it's more, everyone knows that. And every time I'm like, well, hey, let's find a study on it besides ours. And like no one has anything, which is really kind of baffling, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a crazy one. Another way that we help you save money. And then really the final piece of the Insider Club is talking about money is saving money through discounts. One thing we heard from a lot of people in terms of what they really love about the club is now that we have over 11,000 members, we're able to go negotiate some pretty awesome discounts for you guys. So essentially, get you guys sponsorships, and we now have pretty much every big brand that you know of. And so that part's cool, meaning even if you don't fish enough, you could still save hundreds of dollars a year just from the discounts alone. Everything from rods, reels, Power Pro, your line, your lures, cast nets, pliers, anything you could possibly imagine. I'm getting some weeds here on these guys.
Yeah, best of all, is we actually go out and test stuff, and I just from all the different testing. The testing on reels specifically is I used to always get pretty expensive reels, like Shimano CI4s was always my favorite. So that's it's a $200 reel, right? Or actually over $200. Thinking that was going to be the best. These lizardfish, we got away from them for a while. Now we're back.
City's now outperforming gold. Could be me with my little jig head.
So anyhow, the actual reels I was getting were, yes, they were good, but they weren't good enough to justify the extra cost. And so, we will give you truly unbiased feedback on actual on-the-water performance without any influence from the corporations.
Because we ain't sponsored.
Yeah, so that was when we first started Salt Strong. That was a big problem in the industry, and I knew firsthand because I was out buying all the gear that the people on TV and all the stuff that was really highlighted in the magazines were featuring, thinking that they were being featured because they're awesome, but like they were really in many cases being featured because that company was paying a lot of money to get them featured. Now there's something on. Another lizardfish. But turns out right after, like this reel right here is $60, and it's a little known reel, and it gets the job done. Yeah, what do you have? You have the Daiwa. Yeah, so.
But my other one is we got a pin down there, and a Shimano, the Stratic, the CI4, which is crazy expensive. Great reels, but they don't really help you catch more fish.
Yeah.
And by the way, we have rejected numerous sponsorship deals, including a 5-figure one, just because we want to remain unbiased, hopefully forever. Now, if a deal comes along and it starts getting 7-8 figures, we might have to, and it's something we believe in.
Yeah, but
obviously.
It's with the caveat that we will be 100% transparent, and we will never. Because the reality is that there is no such thing as a lure or a rod or a reel or a line that is the best across the board for every situation. Yep. So we will give you the true situational best, regardless of what the details are. Because that's, I've been out filming with some people and they literally cannot say a single bad thing. Oh, there's a better fish. That's a snook. Oh, that's a solid snook. Yeah, they can't say a single bad thing about an object because that's what they're sponsored by or whatever, and I just think that's a problem, and definitely do not want to be in that situation. This is a solid fish.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Here, I'll actually move the camera here so you guys can see it.
This is why it's important to use 30-pound test. This isn't I thought it was going to be bigger than this, but this might be a slot fish. But yeah, a snook this size can easily chew through 20-pound leader. I can't see about
especially when you got them around the docks. Fortunately, you got them just off of it.
Yeah, this one was hanging up on the shelf.
Slam shade, he strikes again.
All right, I got him hooked good. He's on the side. He shouldn't come on. He shouldn't come unbuttoned. We'll let him tire himself out. Yeah, this is why you come out even on days when it's not supposed to be very good. If you put yourself in the right spot based on the conditions, you can have a lot of fun, even on the bad weather days. There we are. Ooh. Lure's out.
Well, that was quick.
Solid fish. So these are my I love these. These are some awesome fish here. Awesome predators. For anybody who started out with bass fishing, this is the ultimate. This is basically like a bass on steroids. These things obviously get a whole lot bigger than this. Fight good.
I'll get a quick,
very aggressive.
We'll do an insider report, and if you're an insider, you're going to get to see exactly where we are today.
Let's make it quick. I want to get this puppy back in there.
Very good. 1, 2, 3. Perfect.
All right, let's let this guy go. Oh man, he's got a good grip on the thumb. Oh, there he is.
Sweet, man.
All right, that was fun. Yeah, I thought that was a giant trout at first. I was like, oh man, we got a big trout on. So very important too is always pay attention to the leader line. That thing is I'll get a video of it. This leader is all frayed up, so now time to retie. Not worth missing a fish of a lifetime.
Which means that
by being too lazy to tie.
Me with my lazy lure can maybe try to catch one.
Again, all Joe has to do is put on a heavier jig head and he'll be set, but he's not doing it.
sit there and be retying the whole time. I'll do it after we have this podcast / video to prove that anybody can catch a fish.
All right, now we just need a redfish.
Yep.
So using a non-slip loop knot, smart to have these. Using a paddle tail, really most lures, good to get, it's smart to have them get the most freedom of motion possible. And so these loop knots get the job done. Whoa. All right.
Worst thing about wave runners is they always go in packs.
All right, watch out, let me get to that trolling motor. All right, so we're gonna sneak on. So right now we have wind, because this is a little strategy on catching multiple fish from one spot. In many cases, during the wintertime, find one fish, there's gonna be more with it. And because again, they're looking for the warm zones, and when they find that warm zone, generally there'll be multiple of them hanging there. So right now we have the wind coming, we're fishing the wind protected shoreline, so that wind just blew us out. We were quiet, we didn't make a bunch of racket with that snook. And so now I'm gonna go just kind of ease our way back up to that same zone. It's actually on the other oh, I just had a bump. It's on the other side of this dock. And hopefully we can pick out another one. Back in the day, I used to just like bass fishing days, I would just kind of burn down shorelines. And it's called power fishing, and I still do that. I still do power fish, and that's kind of what we're doing today until we figured out what was happening. But then as soon as you figure out what's happening, and as soon as you find a spot, it's really smart to just totally transition from power fishing and just go to just covering every inch of a zone that you find is holding fish. And so we're gonna go ahead and get a cast.
Under the dock, baby.
And so we're gonna go and start on the deep sections, and then we're just gonna slowly push forward. And oh man, I just had something on again.
Dang, I really need to change up my jig head. Now, interesting, right in there in front of us, I believe, is a fishing guide.
Oh yeah.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
All we did was use the intel that you have available to you as an insider member, and we put ourselves here before the guide got here. He really must have slept in, or this is his next spot. Taking people to this honey hole.
Let's see.
They got live bait over there. Guarantee they're not having as much fun as we are. We're certainly not podcasting about it.
Yeah, so right now we're getting into the zone where that snook was. And so it's gonna hang here for a bit, cover every inch of it, try to pick off one of his buddies. Hopefully his grandma. Because now the sun's getting up, those fish might start pushing up shallower.
I was hoping they'd be dialed in on the smaller profile. We haven't really seen any bait around.
There's been some minnows.
Yeah, I'm saying big bait.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had Mark Zona on the podcast. You guys know who that is. Huge name in the bass world, and talk about how much fun these live ones are. Luke is the lizardfish king.
These lizardfish are on fire right now.
Talking about how much fun these, essentially live. I mean, we're not editing this. We were hoping and praying we're gonna get some tight lines quick, and we did. And we're like, man, maybe we do these live. And then I started talking to him about what it takes to do it. I mean, he's got a whole production crew, and I mean, it's all about cell service, obviously, where you are.
Oh, so, man, that was a good bite.
We looked into it more. We're like, man, yeah, we don't really have that. So we'll start small and just let the camera roll with the mics on and fish an area and just see what happens.
Yeah, take it real slow right there. That was a good fish.
This has been real fun. So are you popping it off?
What do you mean?
Are you doing a concert retreat?
I'm doing a double twitch. Double twitch, bounce it up twice, let it fall, bounce it up twice, let it fall. And
I got a nice little strike there.
Feel the line on the fall. That's when the magic happens.
And that is great advice. What you said earlier, and just right there is, if someone's on the boat, especially 2 feet away from you, catching a whole lot more fish, watch what they're doing. Watch their retrieval speed. Check out the size jig head they have on. Check if, even like with gulp, sometimes, like especially those jerk shads, sometimes the tail off, like once you have puffer fish or something that comes and bites the tail off, sometimes that will start out fishing the actual, normal 5 or 6 inch gulp jerk shad. So pay attention to all that stuff. I can't tell you how many big fish have been caught on things like that when the tail's gone, right?
Yeah, some of my biggest fish I've caught on the tailless baits. It's all about getting the right profile.
So my lesson learned is now it should be very obvious.
Another snook.
That I should get a different jig head on and probably go back to the slam shady and just go with what works.
Yeah, because how do we not double back, right? We technically already fished that spot, but we were going kind of fast. And
now I gotta find a better jig head.
So again, knew some fish were here, so doubled back.
Whoop.
This one isn't as big as the other one. Fun size.
Oh man, the camera here. While my brother does all the dirty work.
Oh, there we are. Almost got you.
Quick release.
Yeah, and if you can see, if you can zoom in on can you see those bait fish, Joe? It's like little glass minnows. So it looks like little small water droplets right there. And I literally casted right in them. See if there's any more in there. Casted right in them, and I just jigged it a couple times.
Yeah, you can, I think you can see them on the screen. Hopefully you guys can.
And that snook was hanging right in them. Oh. Golly.
So,
and lizardfish.
Let's talk real quick, Luke, about boat positioning. I think it's one of those things that is not talked about enough. It's kind of taken for granted that, hey, I'm in a good spot. I got my slam shady on. I got everything I need. Do you mind shedding a little light on that real quick?
Yeah, I mean, there's, it's because we have an entire course on it that it goes into the nits and grits, because there's all different sorts of examples and situations where one thing is better than the other. But I'll give like the elevator speech, but it's really about you want to position yourself in a way that enables you to cover whatever target zone you're fishing, right? Whatever target zone you believe the fish are in, and cover it in a way that, first of all, you can cast to it, right? You have to be able to get your lures to it, and actually cast over it, right? You don't want to cast right on it. But also, if there is current, you want to be retrieving with the current. You want to make sure that the lure is always going in the same direction as the current, if you can, right? That's the ideal scenario. So the ideal scenario would be to have the wind, right? So the wind and the current are the two biggest factors. And so ideally, you have the wind at your back and the current coming towards you. That way you can cast super far. Oh, dang, I'm having bites in there. You can maximize your casting distance, the fact that the wind's at your back. And then your retrieve is to come in the right direction because it's coming with the current, right? That's the direction that the fish are expecting the next meal. In this case, there's not much current here. And so there's really no huge factor for us to consider right now because there's hardly any current. Oh man, I should retie, but I'll keep going. There's not much current, and we're just trying to get out of the wind. So we're just, this is an atypical situation. So we're just right now. The goal is just to keep the boat close enough to get on the strike zone, but far enough away out to not spook the fish. And so when we were going off those trout, once I realized that the trout were holding off a little bit deeper, I just kept the boat further away from the shore. And once we started kind of not worrying so much about catching trout because we already had plenty of them, Then I started creeping up a little bit closer, getting up a little bit shallower, and those snook were holding up just a little bit shallower, probably like a foot or two shallower. They were basically like on the right as the trough starts, right where it goes from about 2 feet down to about 3. They've been right in that zone. So that's, so positioning today has been pretty easy. It's really just not spooking fish and keeping as quiet as possible.
Ooh, I can even cast further.
We'll lift your rod up real quick, lift your line up. Want to get into that dock real quick? Because we need a red. Those reds are often holding by a little bit closer to the structure.
Yeah, it's a lot of little bait fish around here now.
Yeah.
One other thing that I've seen people on our boat do when we have guests or friends is just bad rigging of artificial lures.
Oh yeah, that's huge.
And so I don't know if you guys saw, but the first thing I did, besides get some gunk all over my bait, was put it in the water and run it through just to make sure it's going straight and it looks natural. If it's helicoptering, you ain't gonna catch fish. And I know, looking back, as we were live bait guys forever, and we moved over to some of these artificial lures like paddle tails. Oh, good save. Yeah, we
almost got hooked on the dock.
Less aggressive on the docks, but we kind of got sloppy. We just kind of rig it real quick, and it didn't have to be centered, and not the case. Like, man, if it's not centered and looking pristine, you were gonna miss strikes. I mean, you think about what we're doing here, right? We're trying to convince a predator fish that does this for a living, meaning it eats bait for a living to survive, and we're trying to convince it to eat, a fake lure, a piece of plastic with a hook coming out of it.
And it's more important as you're in more populated areas where there's fishing. Like Louisiana, you can go there and kind of throw anything you want, and they're going to hit it.
That was the only time that we didn't care if it was centered.
Yeah, oh yeah, just throw it out.
He was like, oh yeah, just put a hook in there somewhere.
Yeah, it was insane how aggressive those fish are, and they're just not afraid of boats. Like, they just haven't seen enough pressure to realize that it's danger. But here in Florida, I mean, these fish, they're used to getting targeted, and so they're definitely much more selective. And it's just that much more important is to make sure that what you're presenting looks as good and natural as possible. And if there's a bait helicoptering, that's like almost guaranteed that you're not going to catch anything, because nothing naturally helicopters in the water. Like when it's doing the corkscrew, like a big corkscrew, real fast turns, they just really, got him. Oh man, lost. That would feel like a good, decent trout. But so yeah, rigging
I'm noticing is
very important.
My leader is shrunk a few times here, and I probably should have retied this morning. How important do you think that is, having
I mean, as long as
half the size.
That's a little bit on the short end. That looks like your bait's still not as heavy as mine. Is that a 1/4 ounce jig head?
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of it is just, the rigging is, for soft plastics especially, I mean, it is everything. If it's not rigged properly, it's going to be terrible, but if it is rigged properly, it is going to be the best lure. I mean, it is really hard to beat a soft plastic on a jig head or on a weighted hook. That's when I was doing tournaments, that's all I used. And I've caught all my best fish with it. And again, in tournaments, we were out fishing even some guides who were using live bait. And it is, if done properly, it is incredibly effective. It just takes a lot of casts. So those tournament days when we're using artificial all day long, it's a lot of casts. And that's where it's important to have the lighter gear. And that's when, that's what I do a lot of reviews on, is those type of equipment that you can sit there and just fish with all day long without getting tired. Because just like an ounce, even a half ounce, is noticeable after a couple hours of casting. There's still some trout holding off in the deep stuff. Or my GoPro just shut down.
Yeah, it's crazy what a difference that makes. I remember that one tournament we did when we fished with our dad.
Yep.
And, he was using his old school, I don't even know who makes it, but it was super heavy. Meaning, 12 ounces heavy or something like that for a little spinning reel. And we were using the light stuff, either Daiwa or Shimano. I don't even remember the time.
That was Shimano then.
But we were talking 7 ounces versus 11 or 12.
Yeah.
Holy smokes! It makes it like he could hardly cast the next day because we power fished. I mean, gosh, was that 9-10 hours? I hadn't fished that hard in a long time.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's also a little bit older, but man, like he was legitimately hurting, like arthritis, like dying. Just that back and forth with just a few more ounces. You don't think it's gonna matter, but man, it does.
And even then too, lure selection is big. Like doing like kind of heavy jigging like we're doing now is not very smart to do all day long. So on days like that, I generally like to use lures that don't require a lot of movement. Like I'll just swim and paddle tail, for example, or I did a lot of jerk shads, and I still do, but a lot of jerk shads with the weighted hook, but they're streamlined, the split tail jerk shads, so that you just barely move your rod and it like jerks it out pretty well. So you basically get a lot of motion without much effort. And so just really important is to consider that if you are going to be, now I rarely fish more than like a couple hours. But if I am going to be fishing like 3-4 hours or more, then I really factor that in. Because the biggest fish of the day seems to always hit when you're least expecting and least ready for it. So now I specifically use just light stuff, just to make it easy. All right, where's the redfish, Joe?
Yeah, we see one red.
You're in charge of the red.
I got my red jig head. Yeah, this thing's definitely getting a little bit deeper. I'm scraping bottoms.
Oh man, missed something.
So what a good brother does is he goes right behind.
I think it was just probably lizard fish for you.
Hey, I just want to get some tight lines here. Too much talking and getting nothing. Slam shady back on. No excuses. Oh. Oh yeah, that could be it right there.
I'll try swimming some to see if that does any action. Yeah, and even when you're on a bite, it is smart to always change your retrieve. So I've been kind of doing some faster, some slower. The only thing I haven't tried is a straight retrieve. So I'm just going to do kind of slide a couple straight retrieves in there. Because you really never know. Like, every day is different. Some days they like the straight. Some days they like the jigging. Double twitch, single twitch. Super slow, super fast, or somewhere in between. It's just always smart to change it around. So far, everything has been the slow.
Here, put the rock line down. Oh, that's dirty right there. Kind of deserves a strike.
Yeah, and a lot of times fishing docks, it's just a lot of fun fishing docks because you can just catch basically everything. Like everything inshore will be hanging around docks. You can even get grouper doing this. Obviously snook, trout, as we've seen, ladyfish.
Little snapper.
Yeah, mackerel coming here, snapper.
Cudas.
Put a little crab lure on it, you can probably get some sheep's head and stuff. So it just holds everything. And it's one of those things that you can fish anywhere. And the key though is just to find the depth that they're holding. So we figured out the trout and the snook so far, not the reds.
Nope, there we go. God dang.
So I went right where Joe missed his fish, and I'm going to try to swipe it from him. On camera, I don't feel bad about it at all.
Tried to take my slam shady off. Hungry little guy.
Whatever it was, didn't want mine. So you must have had a different retrieve that it was into. It didn't even touch mine.
Or he knew the cameras were on. So I don't want no part of that. I didn't sign no waiver.
Another thing too that people, like, I don't know if for those who are watching, you just saw that I just crossed Joe's line and that's totally okay. If you do cross lines, just make sure that it's like a serious cross. It's not like just barely over where you're almost retrieving the same thing. So I saw that that he was in this one axis towards the dock over here ahead of us, and neither of us had covered this other dock. I'm actually gonna do it again. And so I just snuck just a cast under him, but I was like 20 feet away. I was at a totally different angle, so that regardless of which one of us, gets our lure up first, is that we can just easily lift it up over the other one's line. So it's really tough to get tangled when you do a hard cross like that.
On a side note, crossing lines in public restrooms is not acceptable.
Yes.
Or any restroom at all, for that matter. See if I can do a left-handed little skip. Oh, pitiful skip. But you never know.
I'll go out for trout on this one.
I'm gonna go for redfish under this big old, beautiful Regal. They make good boats right here in Central Florida.
There's a serious props on that thing. 6 blades each.
All right, that was it right there, guys. Like, fish under there. It is going to see the Slam Shady.
All right, so back to the positioning. All right, so we're kind of going fast, and or at least moderately fast. The wind's kind of pushing us along. And so I'm seeing in between these two docks here, there's a bunch of those little bait fish. So I basically stopped our drift. I stopped our wind drift so that we can sit here and cover this zone. Because the last few docks didn't have many bait. The last dock that had bait, caught 2 snook at. And the last couple didn't have much. Oh, there we are.
Oh, I had a strike too. Oh, God.
Yep, snook. Another snook. So exactly where it was supposed to be, right? Look at this. Always smart to keep an eye on those bait fish. Oh, hello.
Luke likes to keep his drag real light, just so everyone can hear it.
I just have a little 2,000 size reel and 10-pound lines.
Is that a 2,000?
Yeah. That's all you need.
So what were you doing there? Were you doing pop still?
I was reeling it. I cast it up shallow and I reeled it up about 5 feet till I got the drop off, and I just dropped it right on the drop off. And then the first twitch, game on.
Yeah, I had a strike the same time you did, and mine just turned out to be a different story. Depression sets in. Next thing you know it, thinking about jumping overboard.
Yeah, so I can feel this one. This one's hooked deep, so I can feel my line rubbing. So what I'm going to do is I got to lighten up the drag because it's sitting there rubbing down, and the more pressure it has,
God dang,
the more likely it's going to break off. I have to be careful with this one.
And I am just having some horrible luck here. For the record, this is typical of my fishing.
All right, watch out, Joe.
So don't feel like you're getting to witness something real embarrassing for me. Luke's been out fishing me since 1989. The year I got serious about weightlifting. How'd you do bench press, Luke?
All right.
Oh, nice one, dude.
Solid fish, not a giant, but a lot of fun. These snook are a blast. All right, that came right out. And he's off. Yeah, my leader is all messed up right now. Better retie that puppy.
It's back in the zone. AutoZone.
So yeah, that's just
this episode sponsored by AutoZone.
So that was just an example of just why it's important to keep your eyes open looking for bait. I just saw it, just talking about it actually, and I had a feeling there'd be some fish there, and sure enough, it was right where it's supposed to be. A lot of times when you find a trend like this, it's going to be the trend for the day, and it'll basically be the trend until the weather changes, which in this case will be tomorrow.
So what's happening tomorrow?
So a big front's coming in. It's going to turn. The wind's going to turn from the south where it is now to the northeast, or from the northeast, and it's going to be like 25 miles an hour. It's going to be really ripping.
I'm glad we decided to do this today then.
Yeah.
And I'm still getting a ton of strikes. They're all just little dinks.
Yeah, there should be a lot of fish there. Yeah, don't go any closer. Try to stay out just close enough where you can cast to them, but any closer than that is asking for trouble. Oh, what side do you want?
That doesn't matter. All right, need a red, Luke, need a red. See if I can close. Get the closer here. Ooh.
Yeah, probably go to a different spot. There's really not. Redfish around here, you're usually holding near more grass. There's just not much grass around here. Still possible.
Maybe a flounder. Surprised how many flounders have been caught on the Old Shady.
Yeah. Yeah, they like paddletails. Oh man, that was a good strike.
So you let it drop right on the edge again?
Yeah. Yep. There's a little hole right there. You can see it.
Dang. I feel like I'm just attracting lizard fish. Get lower.
So I basically cast down, let it fall right in that hole, and I put my rod tip down and start working it right along the shoreline. Get it right in their face.
In the face. All right. Did it. And
Nothing there. Another bait school over that way. Terrible cast.
well, at least it wasn't caught on film. Oh, wait, it was. Oh, well, no wonder. It's tough to get a strike when you got Duke all over your. Let's see what else I can blame my crummy day on. Oh man, that deserves a strike. Oh, another wave runner. What do you know?
Oh.
Oh, buddy.
I almost got stuck on that dock.
I got nothing against wave runners, all right? I have an issue with some of the people driving them.
Lizard fish or something.
No idea how to operate a wave runner. Have no idea what the rules are. And they certainly don't understand etiquette. Like the ones you see back in the mangroves.
Yeah.
You're like, what are you thinking? And they come by, think it's kind of funny to do a little tail splash. Not cool. That's you when you're watching. You made it this far. You ain't that guy. Or girl. Who else would watch an hour-long fishing video besides someone who cares about fishing? Let's just see how people fish some docks in the winter time. Smart fishing spots. Yeah, so we'll kind of circle back and end it.
Yeah, I think if we need to get a redfish, we need to move. We need to get out of here.
All right, well, so we'll end it. This is all going to be completely uncut. Smart fishing spots. You're sick and tired of having the days of not going out there and at least getting tight lines. Yeah, I didn't have a stellar day. Whoa! Getting a lot of strikes though. I think it's a lot of little lizard fish.
Yeah, that's what I just had on.
Yeah, if you're sick and tired, and once again, we've only been out here an hour. Spot I've certainly never been to before. Luke, have you been here once?
Yeah. I literally just moved here a couple weeks ago, but been here once.
So brand new spot. If you're sick and tired of those days, and you're a busy person, if you have a job, and maybe have a wife, husband, kids, a life, real things happening, and you just want to maximize your fishing time because it's valuable to you, then join us in the Insider Club. Not only will you get access to all the discounts, the private community that we've custom built for you, it's all broken down by regions. I feel like we take that for granted, how nice it is. As soon as you come in, you get to click on your region, regardless if you're in South Padre, Texas, or Corpus Christi, or Fort Myers, Florida, or Louisiana, wherever you might be, and see what's happening in your area and meet people. We've had so many friendships that have been made inside of this in this club/community, or really a family,
Yep.
is what we like to call it. So come join us there. We'd love to have you. We celebrate the wins, and I also love too, just like I'm having a tough day, people aren't afraid to say they had a tough day. It's not just a show-off board, because you can learn so much from those tough days. Like I learned a lot here today about myself personally, and about
new species. New species.
Pinfish. Oh boy, count it. That's bait. So come join us. You'll get access to the discounts, the community, the exclusive tips, the unbiased reviews. You've probably seen a lot of the stuff on YouTube. Maybe you're watching this on the tube or listening on the old podcast. And that's great. That's where we put, some stuff, but we save the best for our Insider members and the truly like hardcore, here's what's working right now on the water stuff like this. Like this isn't new. If you're an Insider member, we're doing this literally every week.
Yeah.
So,
or this is the long version of it. We usually
we
make it all
short
shorter.
and sweet and only show you the highlights and where the fish were caught. But we show you every spot, like exactly get on the map, show the pre-trip planning on why we picked that spot, what happened, the lessons learned, mistakes made, and then of course now the smart fishing spot system, where we get on a little 10-minute video on satellite maps and show you where to fish. And if you don't have 10 minutes to become a better angler, then you should probably just give up fishing altogether. Oh no, that's how we're gonna end it. That's how we're gonna end it. I don't care what it is.
That looks like, that might be a good trout.
It's fighting more like a jack, but still take
No, that's a little snook.
Oh yeah, a little snooky.
Yeah, but most importantly, after trips like this, we'll go out get on the lowest level Google Maps and show exactly what types of spots that we're fishing and then why, right? Based on the wind, speed, the direction, the temperature changes. And that way exactly the why behind what's happening. It's not like a TV show that it kind of just shows some fish catching without the details. We literally show precisely where we are so that you can go out and find areas just like that near you and just replicate what's happening. It's all real time. We'll be publishing this video for the Insider Club within 24 to 48 hours. We do it real time, so the latest and greatest trends and details are up there and available to those who can go out and fish and just maximize the time. So good work on the snook there, Joe. I was getting worried about you, bud.
Hey, seriously. Confidence level a little bit higher now. Still gonna go probably re-rig, self-evaluate, do a little meditation, and then check out my smart fishing spots and make sure we're in the right spot. I'm gonna blame it on the spot.
Yeah, clearly is a spot problem.
You got all that stuff.
Hey, what's going on? Oh,
hey,
sweet.
We're filming a video right now.
I see it. Doing any good?
This stretch has been good. We caught 4 snook and good amount of trout.
First time back here, scoping it out,
Yeah.
and it looks pretty good for docks.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
What's your name?
Rich Roberts.
Rich. Yeah,
Rich
what's up,
Roberts.
man? Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, we were.
Move down here, one of you.
I moved about. I live about a mile or 2 away from here,
Yeah.
so I'll be out here a lot.
Riptides?
Sorry?
Have you been to Riptides yet?
No. What? I don't know what that is.
Bar going, man.
What is it?
Oh, the bar, the restaurant bar.
That's just a bar.
Oh, okay, got it. Yeah.
It's local.
Is it on the water?
Yes.
Oh, sweet.
So how you doing here?
Good. Yeah. I mean, we caught probably 4 snook and maybe 4 or 5 trout and a bunch of ladyfish and lizardfish and stuff. That's a lot of action.
It's the power of the Insider Club. You meet new friends every time you're out in the water.
Are you filming me?
Yeah.
Dude, you're on right now. Rich is on. That's so funny.
Good, guys.
Yeah, it's been-
I'm really satisfied with the prescriptions.
Cool. Awesome.
Thank you,
I've
man.
been using it. It helps.
That's perfect.
You know about the smart fishing spots yet? Have you saw those
I
videos?
just saw that. I just got
Sweet.
Awesome, man.
got into it. So
Very cool.
good to see you guys here.
Yeah, likewise.
Good looking boat, man.
I just got this
Yeah,
back. I just had a 100-hour deal done to it.
Cool.
I don't have any fishing stuff. I thought I'd give it a try, make sure it's all working good.
Yeah, it looks sweet.
Yeah, it looks new.
Yeah,
Brand new. Yeah.
Very cool.
All right, we'll see you guys on the water.
You too,
All
right?
right, Rich.
Yeah. You're gonna see yourself on YouTube soon.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch. What, tonight?
Probably 24, 48 hours. We'll
Yeah.
get it up soon.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You good, brother?
Rich.
Bye.
Riptides, you got it.
We'll see you at Riptides, along with our buddy Rich. Guys, that was too funny. And you might be saying, oh, was that scripted? No. Came up and said, this is Salt Straw guys. That was awesome. One of our awesome members, Rich, here in St. Pete. So that's it. If you guys want to learn more, you can either go to saltstraw.com and join, or we actually have a separate site just to learn about the smartfishingspots.com. So go to smartfishingspots.com and you can learn more about that there. Peace. We out.
See ya.
'Cause fishing, it's in my soul. It was passed down to me from the days of old. To find us on the water if there was a way. It's been said my papa, he wrote the book on catching big reds and 20-pound snook. I wish I knew all the things he knew today. For he's the reason why we are this way. And he put fishing in our soul.